Hello and welcome back to the Jobless Bum YouTube channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we're going to be ranking snack foods in a tier list. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so starting off our tier list, we do have animal crackers. And I think animal crackers are probably the most solid snack out there. They got like a faint hint of sweetness, but they're basically just crackers. But I really like animal crackers, so I'm gonna put them in the B tier because they're just very solid. I don't think I would ever buy animal crackers, but if they were offered to me, I'd be like, yeah, I'll have some animal crackers. Then we do have barbecue kettle potato chips. And I gotta say, these are going to be the first entrant in our S tier. I'm a real big fan of the kettle cooked style. They're a bit crunchier than regular potato chips. They got a little bit more substance to them. You have to chew a little bit harder, but I really like that aspect of them. I think they might, I don't even know how to describe the difference in flavor, but there is a difference in flavor between kettle chips and regular potato chips. And I really like barbecue flavor, so this is a slam dunk, about as close to perfect as you could be in my book. So I'm a big fan of kettle barbecue chips, so we're gonna put them in the S tier. Oh, also, before I forget, I'm going to put all of the snacks that I've never had into the never had tier. So in a moment's time, we'll get straight back to the tier list. Okay, next up, we do have Bugles, which are kind of potato chips. It's kind of hard to describe what they are. They have like a different consistency to potato chips. Got a different taste. I'm not really sure how to describe them though. What I will say though is I like the texture on it. It's got a unique texture that I can't really explain. It's a solid snack. I'd say it's probably a B tier based on flavor and just overall merits as a snack, but it does get fun bonus points for being in a fun shape that's unique and, you know, doesn't really have a parallel in the snack world. So for that reason, I'm gonna put Bugles in an A tier. It is a B tier snack, but the fun shape brings it up to an A tier. Next up, we do have Chex Mix, and this is the cheddar cheese Chex Mix. And I gotta say, I'm a real big fan of Chex Mix. Like, a lot of people don't really consider Chex Mix to be a stellar snack, but for me, Chex Mix is one of my favorite snacks, and especially so the cheese Chex Mix. I'm a big fan of anything cheese flavored, so add cheese flavor to something that I really love. I'm gonna put cheddar cheese Chex Mix into the S tier. It's just a stellar snack, and I got nothing but positives to say about it. By the same token, I really think regular Chex Mix is a stellar snack, but due to the fact that it doesn't have cheese, it doesn't quite get to that S tier. But I would buy Chex Mix for myself, and I do on occasion buy Chex Mix for myself. So I gotta put it in A tier because it is just a very solid snack that I'm happy to get. Next up, we do have cheese balls. And if you don't know cheese balls, basically, they're kind of like puffy Cheetos. And the thing to know about cheese balls is they come in like a comically large size container. So there's props to the value proposition with cheese balls, given you're going to get a lot of cheese balls. So you have to really like cheese balls to get cheese balls. But luckily for me, I love cheese balls. I think cheese balls are great. Oftentimes I don't get cheese balls just because there's so much cheese ball when you buy a container of cheese balls that you don't really consider how long it's going to take to finish the cheese balls. So sometimes I don't get cheese balls because of that reason, but I still think it is a really good snack. But the quantity is both a hindrance and a positive, so it evens out in the end. I'm gonna put cheese balls in the A tier. It's a really solid snack. I don't think you could really change them to make them go to the S tier, but I think it's just a really solid snack, and I would buy it for myself. Next up, we do have the classic Cheetos. And I got two main issues with Cheetos. Number one, I think they're too cheesy. I think like that's their whole motto though, is that they are over the top cheese compared to other snacks. But for me, it's just too much. There's too much cheese powder dust. I think it kind of tastes weird, but that doesn't mean that I won't buy Cheetos, but I can only have like a small bag of Cheetos. I would never like buy the full size snack bag. But if I have like a variety pack of, Cheetos and Lay's and Doritos, I would not be too sad to have a small bag of Cheetos. But it's also not one of my favorites. So I'm gonna put the regular Cheetos in the B tier. I wouldn't pass it up, but I don't go out of my way to get Cheetos. Next up, we do have Cheez-Its. And Cheez-Its are the small cheese crackers. And what I like about Cheez-Its is that they taste like they've been baked. They have like this flavor where I think it's just really good. They got a good consistency to them and they have an appropriate amount of salt on them. That's a key thing to consider for a snack. What is the salt ratio on your snack? Because sometimes you have snacks that are too salty, and that's definitely not good. But I think Cheez-Its have an appropriate amount of salt. And I really like the extra toasty Cheez-Its where they spend more time being baked, which gives it a more robust flavor. And that's what the regular Cheez-Its also have, on a lesser scale, of course. But the fact that Cheez-Its having a more robust flavor, I'm gonna put Cheez-Its in the S tier. I'm a big fan of Cheez-Its. I buy Cheez-Its for myself routinely. It's one of my favorite snacks, so I'm gonna put Cheez-Its in the S tier. Next up, we do have pizza combos. And perhaps this is a bit of personal bias on my part, but I remember it was the first day of a job and my dad got me these pizza combos for a snack, for my lunch, as a, hey, good luck on your job today. So I remember I sat there and I went to the job. I was a bit overwhelmed by this job because there was just a multitude of issues with this job that later on down the road I would encounter. But at least for the first day, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed, and I had the pizza combos with me. And I remember this moment. I was sitting at my desk and I had the pizza combos, and I gotta say, it was the worst flavor of all time. I think pizza flavor with cheese and tomato, it's not really well suited for a snack. Like, a pizza has to be hot and fresh. Now, granted, cold pizza also works, but I don't think pizza flavor is a good flavor for a snack. It just doesn't work for me. And the fact that I had a negative experience while I was eating the pizza combos, all in all, brings pizza combos in my book to a D tier. It's just not good. I would not recommend you to have the pizza combos. I just thought they were disgusting. I honestly, while I was sitting there, I had like 2 handfuls and then like I threw the rest out. I couldn't finish it. So that should tell you everything you need to know about pizza combos. Next up, we do have Cool Ranch Doritos. And I think a lot of people like Cool Ranch Doritos, and a lot of people like ranch flavor in general. But for me, I find ranch to be absolutely disgusting. So for me, Cool Ranch Doritos are an easy D tier. It's just not good. I've tried Cool Ranch Doritos before, and I just can't do it. I just hate ranch, so obvious D tier for me. Next up, we do have Cosmic Brownies. And I remember as a kid, my mom would always pack me a Cosmic Brownie with my lunch when I would bring my lunch to school. And I remember Cosmic Brownies having like this really artificial taste to them. I think Cosmic Brownies taste like what I imagine, like when you have like Barbies and like they're making a cake and Barbie's a baker and like they have like the little plastic brownie or cake. That's what I think Cosmic Brownies taste like. They're very artificial, but I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Maybe it's just because I had them a lot and I have a little bit of nostalgia, but I think Cosmic Brownies, if I were gonna be objective, they're probably a C tier, but I have good memories of Cosmic Brownies, so I'll put them in B tier. They're solid, but they wouldn't be my first choice. Next up, we do have Fritos, and I've had periods of my life where I've been more or less of a fan of Fritos, but I think right now I'm on a period where I don't like Fritos as much. It's got an interesting taste, and the fact that it is a corn-based snack is different than a lot of the other snacks on the list. So Fritos are unique, and I do value that, but sometimes Fritos are just a bit too salty for me. So I really have to be in the right mood to like Fritos, but when I do like Fritos, Fritos are one of my favorite foods. So I'll put Fritos in the A tier. It's really solid. I would buy Fritos for myself, but I don't think Fritos have the same lasting power in my mind. Next up, we do have Welch's fruit snacks. And I'm a big fan of fruit snacks, and I think Welch's do one of the better fruit snacks. I'm not sure that I would put it in S, just because I don't know necessarily that it's the best expression of fruit snacks on the market. But for me, it's got to be A tier, at least compared to like the other snacks on this list. I think it's the only fruit snack, so I'll put Welch's fruit snacks in the A tier. It's very solid. Next up, we do have Funyuns, and I'm willing to admit that this is probably a personal thing, but I just really don't like onions, so there's no universe in which I would like Funyuns. I've tried Funyuns, and I can't get myself to like them, so Funyuns are a definite D tier for me. Nothing really positive to say about them. Next up, we do have Goldfish, and I'm a really big Goldfish fan. It has a faint cheese flavor. Like, you could be eating Goldfish and not realize that it has a cheese flavor, like, in your conscious mind, but subconsciously you're like, oh yeah, I like the cheese flavor of Goldfish. So it's got a faint flavor, it's got a good texture, and it's got a fun shape. I think honestly, Goldfish, probably an A tier snack for me, but the fact that it is the snack that smiles back, I gotta put Goldfish in the S tier. It's probably an A tier snack, but because it's got a fun shape, I'm gonna put it in the S tier. Next up, we do have the Harvest Cheddar Sun Chips. And I'm a big fan of Sun Chips in the Harvest Cheddar version, especially. I'm not really that big of a fan of the other versions of Sun Chips, but the Cheddar Sun Chips hit different for me. The only complaint that I would have with the Sun Chips is that they are one of the worst culprits in my mind of not like filling their bags with the snack. There is so much air in a Sun Chips bag, it's insane, and the fact that they use like biodegradable bags makes it like very noisy as well. So that's a small complaint, but I think that's enough to knock it down from the S tier in my mind into the A tier. But it is a very solid snack, and I do buy Sun Chips on a regular basis, so I'll put it in the A tier. Next up, we do have the Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and I'm gonna be honest, like, I have to be in a really good mindset to have Blazing Hot Cheetos, just because I'm not really that big of a spicy food fan. Sometimes I like spicy foods, but it's got to be a rare occasion when I do like a spicy food. But when I do want something spicy, I think Flamin' Hot Cheetos are solid. For the same reasons that I didn't like the regular Cheetos, I think the Flamin' Hot Cheetos suffer from the same sort of drawbacks in that there's too much cheese powder on the Cheetos themselves. So saying all that, I don't think it's a D tier snack. I think it's probably a perfect entrant into the C tier. Next up, we do have Jack Link's Beef Jerky, and it's kind of similar, in my opinion, to the Flamin' Hot Cheetos in that I think I need like a good reason to have beef jerky, just because it feels like whenever I like have a snack, I just want something light, but like I rarely have the cravings for beef jerky, but when I do, Jack Link's Beef Jerky is pretty solid. But I'm not really craving beef jerky that often, so I'll probably put it in the same tier as Cheetos Flamin' Hot. It's solid, but I don't really eat beef jerky a lot, but when I do, it's all right. I think I'll do all of the Lay's chips at once. So we'll start out with the classic Lay's. I think classic Lay's, I'll probably put in the A tier. It's probably what you think of when you think of a potato chip, at least in my mind. I think of a classic Lay's potato chip, and it's solid. Like, I can't really say that there's anything wrong with it. It's a bit bland, but at the end of the day, sometimes you want bland. Sometimes you want the milk toast in life. Sometimes you just want something that's reliable. For me, the classic Lays are old reliable. So they're very solid, and sometimes I do get myself some Lay's chips, so I'll put them in the A tier. Then we do have barbecue Lay's. Everything that was good about the Lay's, you just upped it by adding the barbecue flavor to it. You turned it from old reliable into one of the best snacks out there, in my opinion. So I'm gonna put Lay's barbecue in the S tier, just because Lay's is a solid chip, and then you just made it that much better. So I'm gonna put Lay's barbecue in the S tier. And then Lay's sour cream and onion, definite D tier for me. I just don't like sour cream and onion flavor, so not really much to say. I'm not a big onion fan, and I'm even more so not a fan of sour cream. So I'm gonna put sour cream and onion Lay's into the D tier. Then we do have, I think these are the salt and lime Tostitos. Tortilla chips. To be honest, I don't really taste that much of a difference between this version of the Tostitos chips and the regular version. So I think we'll just rank them both at the same time. I think they're pretty similar. I don't really think there's that much of a difference. I think Tostitos and Tostitos salt and lime are probably B tier. I don't think anyone ever goes like, oh, like, I'm a really big fan of Tostitos tortilla chips. I think people just buy Tostitos because, hey, I have a dip and I need something for it. So for that reason, I can't really justify putting it any higher than B, but for its purpose, I think Tostitos are very solid. Then we do have Sun Chips Original. And for me, Sun Chips Original are gonna be a C tier. I honestly don't really like the flavor of the regular Sun Chips that much, which may be surprising considering I put Harvest Cheddar Sun Chips in the A tier, but for me, these are just very bland, and there's not really much to say about it. And they're not solid like the Lay's are, I feel like. For me, Sun Chips Original are just very forgettable. So for that reason, I'll put them in the C tier. Then we do have the Nutty Bars, and these are basically like chocolate covered peanut butter wafers. And when I was in high school, I ate a lot of Nutty Bars. So I really liked them back then. I'm not as big a fan right now. I'll probably put them in A tier. I still think they're good, but it's probably on the line between being an A or a B. But since I had good memories of Nutty Bars and some nostalgia for them, I will put them in the A tier. I don't even know what these Doritos are, so I'm going to put those in the never had tier. Next up, we do have the Nacho Cheese Doritos, and I'm going to put Nacho Cheese Doritos in the C tier. I think they're solid, but I don't really ever crave them. I would never seek out like a nacho cheese Dorito, but I mean, I think they're solid, but I would never choose them over any of the foods in the S, A, or B tier. So for me, it's solid, meaning it goes into the C tier. I'm gonna rank both of the Pringles at the same time. I think these are the sour cream and onion Pringles, maybe? I'll just say that they are. I think regular Pringles are another entrant into the C tier. They're just so bland. It's like you took everything that made a potato chip good and like you took it out and then you put it into a Pringle. I think that's my opinion of Pringles. They're just very dry. They got a weird consistency and the flavor's not good. But I mean, they're so bland that I can't put them in the D tier either because it's not like I hate them. Like I've eaten Pringles before and not been like, oh, like this is disgusting. But they're just very bland. I would never choose Pringles. So for that reason, it's going to go in the C tier. And then the sour cream and onion Pringles, imagine everything that I said about the regular Pringles, but add a bad flavor to it. So the sour cream and onion Pringles definitely going into the D tier. Then we do have Ruffles, which have a very similar flavor to Lay's, and they're like ridged. So that makes them better for dipping, I think, because you can have more of what you're dipping onto your chips. So I think that's pretty solid, but I don't think they're S tier material for me. But considering they're just better Lay's, I'm gonna put Ruffles in the A tier. Hopefully that doesn't ruffle any feathers. Sorry for my bad pun. Next up, I think these are literally just peanuts. I'm not a big fan, too much work. You have to open up the peanut, you have to crack it open yourself. And the fact that the inside isn't even that good. I don't like the texture, I don't like the consistency, which is weird because I like peanut butter. So it's not the flavor. I think peanuts are just really weird. So, but when you put it into peanut butter form, it doesn't feel as weird to me. But regular peanuts, I just don't like them. Next up, we do have Pizza Goldfish. And before I had Pizza Goldfish, I didn't think there was a way to ruin goldfish until I had the Pizza Goldfish. They ruined the goldfish. Part of what made goldfish good is the faint flavor of goldfish. And you take that out the window and you just add pizza dust on it, which is not good. So you take everything that was good about goldfish and throw it out the window. All for what? Pizza flavor? Come on, do better, goldfish. It's not very good, and it's a D tier for me. I don't even know what these ones are. Is that another pizza flavor? Default Pringles pizza flavor, gonna go straight to the D tier. I don't even need to explain myself on the pizza flavor. So many snacks with a pizza flavor. Come on, let's do something different. Come on, do better, snack industry. Next up, we do have white cheddar popcorn. This is one of my favorite snacks. There's just something really satisfying about them because there's not a lot of white cheddar flavored food out there. And at least from what I can tell from when I go to the grocery store, it's like this. And then I think they have like a white cheddar Cheez-It, which is not very good. But the white cheddar popcorn, I think, is really good. I think the consistency of the dust is really good on the popcorn. And popcorn is just a solid base for anything. So I'm a real big fan. Go straight into the S tier for me. Then we do have Rolled Gold pretzels, and I'm a big pretzel fan, and Rolled Gold is one of my favorite brands of pretzel, we'll say. I'm gonna put Rolled Gold into the S tier, and I'll rank Snyder's at the same time. Snyder's pretzels, I'm gonna rank in the B tier. I remember as a kid, sometimes my mom would buy Snyder's pretzels, and sometimes she would buy Rolled Gold pretzels, and I remember always being hyped up and excited when my mom bought Rolled Gold pretzels. But when she bought Snyder's, I was visibly disappointed because they're a lot worse in my opinion than Rolled Gold. And maybe that's just branding, but I feel like the Rolled Gold pretzels were salted a lot better than the Snyder's pretzels. And the Snyder's pretzels had like this weird taste. Maybe they were more authentic to what pretzels are actually supposed to be, but I think I like Rolled Gold pretzels better than the Snyder's pretzels. Next up, we do have Cheetos Puffs. And I said earlier my piece about Cheetos and how I think they're too cheesed up. The texture's kind of weird. I really like Cheetos Puffs. I think that they're like pretty similar to the cheese balls. The cheese balls have the ball shape, while the puffs are more long, like sticks. I think they're pretty similar. I think the puff is a good texture consistency for a snack. So I'm a big fan of Cheetos Puffs, and I would buy them for myself, and I do sometimes buy Cheetos Puffs. So I'm a big fan. I'll put them in the A tier. Next up, we do have Sun-Maid raisins, and I hate raisins. It's funny because I used to like raisins a lot as a kid, but now I just don't like them. There's just something about the texture, the consistency that's weird. And just the visual, whenever like I try to envision myself putting a raisin in my mouth, I just gag. I just don't think the presentation is good. And that seems like a petty thing to rank something based on, but there comes to a point where something just looks too gross to eat. I don't care how much the taste is good, but raisins, I just can't fathom eating them now. Next up, we do have sunflower seeds, and this is just a philosophical point that I'm going to make, but I don't think you can consider something a food if you don't actually consume it, where you're supposed to like just suck on sunflower seeds. You're not supposed to eat them because they're not edible because they're seeds. So for that reason, I'm going to put sunflower seeds in the D tier because they're not a food. You spit them out. That's like the opposite of what you're supposed to do with the food. So for me, sunflower seeds are a D tier. Then we do have Ritz crackers, and Ritz crackers are the definition of bland. I have nothing to say about them. They got a nice butter taste, I guess, but for me, Ritz are pretty bland. So for that reason, I'm gonna put them in the B tier. Like, they're all right, but I would never say, hey, I'd like some Ritz crackers. So I'm gonna put them in the B tier. All right, so apparently I was wrong on how you're supposed to eat sunflower seeds. Apparently you can eat them. You're supposed to crack them open and they're edible. To be fair though, my point still stands though, because people spit out sunflower seeds all around everywhere that people eat sunflower seeds. So, I don't know. I think I was justified in thinking that you're not supposed to eat sunflower seeds. But to be fair, I'll add this addendum to the video when I put it out. Still gonna maintain my D ranking though, because they're very bland tasting, so I'm not a big fan. Next up, we do have Ruffles cheddar, and usually I rank the cheese flavor of something that I like higher than just the regular version, but for this, I think they're separate entities, the Ruffles original and the Ruffles cheese flavor, but for me, I don't really think there's much of a difference in me liking them. I don't think the cheese Ruffles are better than the regular Ruffles. So for that reason, I think they're A. I think for the same reasons that I like the Ruffles, they're a solid chip, perhaps a bit boring. For those reasons, I still like them in the A tier, but I don't think the cheese flavor elevates them to the S tier, like with some of the other snacks that have a cheese version. Next up, we do have the Kettle Chips vinegar version, and I'm really not a fan of salt and vinegar flavor. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in the D tier. It's just not good. I don't like vinegar. For that reason, I'm going to put Kettle Chips into the D tier. Then we do have Triscuit and Wheat Thins, which are pretty much the same thing. And these are definitely going into the D tier. They're just bland, not a good flavor. I would never choose to eat these. You would have to like kidnap me and then like force feed me Wheat Thins or Triscuits to get those consumed by myself. So for that reason, they're going into the D tier. And then finally, we do have Goldfish Blasted. So what I said earlier about the Goldfish was that I like them because of their faint flavor. Now take everything about that reasoning and throw it out the window with the Goldfish Blasted. It's just not very good. I think subtlety is Goldfish's greatest trick, and you're no longer playing that trick when you use the Blasted Goldfish. The powder isn't good, and it just takes away from the Goldfish experience. However, it's not like inedible. But I would never choose Blasted Goldfish over regular Goldfish. So it's solid. It's going into the B tier. And there's our tier list. I'll give you one final look at the completed Snack Foods tier list. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite snack food is, and if you have any thoughts about the snack food tier list that we made today, let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching, and be sure to stay safe.